Alright, so in this video, we're going to talk about the key differences between the FXR and the Dyna. Let's check it out. What's going on, YouTube? FXDLSBROOKLYN is back in the building. You're coming at us from a ride with none other than the man in black and Kara in front of us on his 2017 Lowrider S. And this is a question I've been getting a lot since I've been dropping more and more FXR content, which is, hey FXDLSBROOKLYN, we see you splitting your miles between the Dyna frame and the FXR frame. They look very similar. What are the differences that I should know about? And this is mostly coming from folks who are in the market for a new bike and who are on the fence between a Dyna or an FXR, right? So, what are the key differences? What are the key differences? Well, difference number one is the weight. The first thing you'll notice when you sit on an FXR is there is a major difference in the weight. And if we were to think about the low end of weight being a Sportster and the high end of the weight in this situation being a Dyna, I actually feel like the weight is more close to the lightness of a Sportster. Obviously it's heavier than a Sportster, right? But in terms of what it feels like to me, it feels closer weight-wise to a Sportster, right? So you're gonna notice there's a major difference in weight. Thing number two, and obviously this is subjective depending on what you decide to do with your motor. If you decide to throw like a 110 SNS in there, like some folks I know, then you're gonna have a different experience with this. But you're gonna notice there's definitely assuming you're running an Evo like I'm running, which is what these bikes came stock with, unless you have one of the early ones, in which case you will have a shovel head. You're gonna notice there's a significant difference in power, right? The Dyna is just gonna make so much more power than the FXR is gonna make, you know? Now, what I will say is in terms of torque, like off the line, the FXR will hold its own, right? For sure, it's gonna hold its own. But in terms of getting up there in the gears, getting up there in the high end, your Dyna is gonna have way more power than your FXR is gonna have, right? Going wide open, full throttle on my Dyna is a very different thing than going wide open, full throttle on my FXR. So yeah, there's a definite difference in power. The third thing is with that, there's a major difference in the sound. Usually when I ride, I am running earplugs, right? But the FXR is still loud, right? Still loud, right? But comparatively to a Dyna, assuming you got like a 2-into-1 exhaust on there and you've changed out the exhaust, it is significantly quieter than a Dyna, especially my 116 or my 110, you know, both running Fab 28s. It's nice because all three of my bikes do have Fab 28s, so I can make that comparison because they all have the same exhaust. Obviously built differently for the different frames. But yeah, there's a major difference in sound, and that's to be expected because you're having a major difference in the power output. Now we're gonna mix it up a little bit on this one, right? We are talking about a comparison. Oh my god, that was bad. Oh my god. Nothing like watching your friend almost die. He's dead. We're definitely gonna be hearing about that one when he gets off the bike. You sport bike guys, come on, man. What are we doing? What are we doing? I'm gonna get a lot of sport bike hate on this one. Alright, but as you know, we'll mix this one up a little bit. You know, we are talking about the comparison between two different frames. So what I'll do is I'll do the fourth and the fifth aspect. I'll actually do it on the dyno. We'll switch things up, assuming I can get a dyno running today. So I'll pick it back up in a little bit, and when I talk to you next, I should be on a dyna, one of my dynas. Alright, see you in a little bit. Alright, so yeah, we were able to do it. Here we are on my 06 116 SNS bat out of hell. Insanely and obnoxiously fast and loud dyna. And let me tell you, man, that's gonna lead us to thing number 4 on this video in terms of the biggest differences. The fourth biggest difference is just the maneuverability, or I had one subscriber call this the flickability of the bike, or just how well you can throw it around. It's so crazy, man, because I've been on my FXR just putting in only exclusively FXR miles for maybe the past month and a half, and this has been the first time I've hopped on a dyna in about a month and a half, and I had to get off the bike after like 5 minutes and check the tires, because I was like, man, are the tires flat or something? Why do I feel like I have so much less throwability around for the bike? And right then and there I was like, wow, these are two very different bikes. So man, can you throw that FXR, and can you hit a curve and a turn with that FXR in ways that you cannot on a dyna, man. There's just a night and day difference. And for me, I'm glad that I did this switch up in the way that I did, because it's just such a big difference, man. And yeah, control wise with that bike, in terms of hitting curves and everything, right now I'm kind of missing it, even though I love my 06, right? But maybe it's just because I've just got so accustomed to it in the past month. But yeah, I really feel the difference right now. I think I'm gonna have to get reused to a dyna. And this is like, dude, we're running Legends front and back on this bike. This bike's got damn good suspension. But yeah, that's definitely a huge, huge difference. Oh my god, this poor dog. And that's going to bring us to our fifth main difference between these two very different bikes that to an outsider look very similar, but to an insider could not be any more different. The fifth difference is just that old Harley feel. And what I mean by that is that FXR vibrates and shakes like you wouldn't believe. And I used to think, before I was an FXR owner, I used to think that this 06 had some serious shake and vibration to it. And then I got that FXR with a 80 cubic inch engine, man, significantly smaller engine. And then, you realize that the bikes back then is just a different story. That bike shakes like no other. And I've tried to like make it more stable. You know, we changed out the motor mounts in the FXR. We did some work on the swing arm. You know, we did a couple things just to try to make it shake less. But oh my god, dude, it feels like if you're sitting at a stoplight with that bike, it feels like you're in the electric chair sometimes. It vibrates so much. So there's just a completely different feel that I think just comes along with it being an older piece of technology. Whereas this bike that I'm on now, you know, we're talking about a bike that was made in 06. Man, you could just feel the luxury of the newer technology. That, you know, we're talking a 12-year difference makes quite a difference. So there's that. And then the sixth one that I think is worth mentioning, the biggest difference between those two bikes. And this is the fact that this bike that I'm on now, if I need any part, right? Any part, I could go on down to the Harley-Davidson dealership and I could almost guarantee I'm going to be able to get whatever that part is. With my FXR, that is not the case. They do not stock and carry parts for bikes that old that have been discontinued. So, for example, I needed to change the gauges out, and that became an eBay scavenger hunt for a couple days to try to scour through the internet to find the perfect part. So look, there's some people out there that like that and get enjoyment out of that. Me personally, I don't. Like, I'm more into motorcycles for the act of riding motorcycles and the performance. I don't really care if the thing has been discontinued or how old it is or how rare it is. So I could kind of do without all that in terms of having to search really hard when you do need parts. The saving grace is you do, you know, with so many people riding FXRs in modern day, you do have companies who take that into consideration, who are making exhaust bars, you know, the big name ticket items. Still, they'll still make stuff for FXRs. And then you got companies like Big Bear Choppers, couple other ones that are still gonna have, you know, your FXR parts. But, you know, when you need like little things, sometimes it can be really hard to get. So that's another big difference, which is just in terms of, you know, if you need parts for the bike. And that's it, man. Looks like we're riding into some traffic due to the fall festivities, such as pumpkin picking out here as we get further east in Long Island. That's kind of the key differences, you know? If you've ever ridden an FXR and, you know, you have that experience, I'd love for you to weigh in on this one if you think there's anything else that I'm missing. But in conclusion, you know, those bikes could not be any more different. Like, they are very, 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 very different beasts. And yeah, that's really all we got for this one. Again, let me know what you think. If you've ridden an FXR, if you've ridden a Dyna, is there anything I'm missing? But yeah, they're different beasts. They're both amazing frames and platforms that I have a lot of love for and a lot of miles on at this point. And yeah, man, as we sit in standstill traffic, I think so folks could pick some pumpkins. Gonna let y'all go here. As always, stay safe out there. Stay low. Ride FXRs. Ride Dynas. Ride baggers. Just make sure that you ride. And on that, FXDLSBROOKLYN is out.